أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومريم ابنة عمران التي أحصنت فرجها فنفخنا فيه من روحنا وصدقت بكلمات ربها وكتبه وكانت من القانتين. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى. Dear Mu'mineen and Mu'minat, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Condolences on the martyrdom anniversary of Lady Fatimiyyah Zahra, Salamullah alayha. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst the sincere lovers of Ahlul Bayt and their followers, inshaAllah. The discussion that inshaAllah we'll have tonight and in the next 2 weeks is over the concept of modesty. And modesty has many aspects. What typically is translated from the term hishma, al-hishma or hishmat, which is translated to modesty, has many aspects to it. And one of the aspects which we will discuss tonight inshallah is regarding the dress code. Other aspects in terms of the usage of God's ni'am, the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how one should use the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the one relating to dress code is also from that same aspect, the ni'mah which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. He has given the men and women beauty and complete figure that he says, فَلَمَّا سَوَّيْتُهُ, when I balanced the creation of mankind. Or in one of the ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He has created man fi ahsani, in the best possible form. So the creation of man is in the best possible form, and both men and women. But He has made the women in part of their physiology and part of the creation, He has made them more attractive, in fact, and therefore in how they should use that beauty, that ni'mah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them, there is a criteria, there is some method, and that is the hishma, that is the modesty, that is the concept of modesty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says to the Holy Messenger in the Holy Quran, قُلْ, say to the believing men initially to lower their gaze and to protect their private parts, and then says to the women to lower their gaze and protect their private parts, and also to hide their zina, their beauty, إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا. And that is in the tafasir, we are told that it is the hands which you need and the face which you need to expose, because you need to see, and therefore you need to expose the face, and you need to expose the hands to be able to use them, and so on. Besides that, you need to cover every other part. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that ayah and in many other ayat in the Holy Quran gives us the reason why. For example, when He says, ذَلِكَ أَدْنَى أَن يُعْرَفْنَ فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ, so that they are known to be modest, they are known to have hishmah, they are known to be the ones who are protecting themselves. And when they are known with this character, when they are given this title, then they will not be harmed. In other words, He has given them the blessing of the looks, like many other blessings which we will discuss inshallah in the following 2 lectures inshallah in the concept of modesty. He's given you wealth, you have to be modest in how you spend it. He's given you so many other things. Modesty apply on all of those concepts. Here, when we speak about the dress code, it is about a blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, a power that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you to use in the right place for the right reason. If you do not use it in the right way, in the right place for the right reason, then you cause harm to yourself and to the society. This is the concept of modesty that Islam introduces. The concept of hijab that is brought and encouraged and made obligatory in Islam is to protect individuals and the society. And then individuals from the society and from themselves. And I'll explain. Some of the modern day, perhaps Muslims who want to liberate themselves from certain obligations, they pose questions. One of them is, and I've heard this many times in the recent days, they say, in a society that perhaps women are all covered, if a woman uncovers, then she is looked upon in the wrong way, and therefore she is harmed. But in a society that everybody is dressed in a certain way, and I will explain, in other words, everybody is immodest, then they're not really pointed at and they're not really harmed. That's their argument. What they don't realize is that not only they're not harmed individually, not only are they harmed individually, they are harmed individually and as the woman in general, and as the society, men and women all together. They're all harmed. The reason why you find so many social problems in the modern day, East and West, you might say, well, the same problems are occurring nowadays in the East. I'll say because the same hijab is being ignored in the East. The same thing applies. East and West. Nowadays you have this mentality of the modern day hijab even. Okay, even in countries that may make hijab as a mandatory part of the society, then you have the modern day hijab where we show every zina possible, every beauty possible under the pretense of hijab. This is not the purpose of it. I want us to reflect on this through a story. The real hijab, and what is that modesty? In a story that we learn through the life of Fatimiyyah Zahra Salamullah alayha, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The story goes as follows. In the house of Fatima and Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayh, a blind man asks to enter. He has a haja or whatever it is, he asks to enter. And he gets the permission and he enters. As soon as Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha realizes, she goes behind the curtain. And then she dresses herself properly and modestly before she comes out. In the gathering, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was present. He sees, and he asked her. Perhaps the question was asked for you and I to reflect on. He said, "My daughter Fatima, the man is blind. Why did you have to put your hijab and put your, all the covers and so on that you wear?" And I'll explain by what I mean by the covers and so on. She said to him, if I cannot see him, if he cannot see me, I can see him. And if he cannot see, he can smell. And therefore, I did not want to, I'm elaborating here, paraphrasing, I did not want to be in a position where I see myself, not that he's seeing me, I see myself in front of a non-mahram, in front of a strange man, immodest, regardless of whether or not he can see me. And besides, and also above that, he can also smell. So then he says, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Ashhadu annaki bad'atin minni." I bear witness that you are indeed a part of me. Parayatan, bad'a. Indeed a part of me. In other words, you have the same mentality, you have the same modesty as your father, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is a witness from Rasulullah. He's giving it regarding his daughter. What is she teaching us here? She's teaching us the real meaning of modesty. The real meaning of modesty is deep within the ladies, which we have to, inshallah, try and basically resurface, allow that to resurface, and allow that to reappear, that modesty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in us. And He has put more modesty in female than male, in fact. He has put it in them. You typically find that even baby girls are more shy than baby boys. Even the children, typically. You'll find that they're more reserved and to themselves, and they have more of a privacy concept. If you study in child development, you'll find a lot of these things there already. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them. Why? Because this is what is best for them. Because for them as individuals, and for them as a member of the women, and then for the society at large, men and women, for all, it is best for women to have that modesty from within themselves, the hishmah from within themselves, so that a woman looking at herself and seeing the strange man, non-mahram, they cannot see themselves in a position where they're exposed. They cannot see themselves in a position where the man can see their beauty and try and use that. What happens is maybe the question. Some women say, well, it is not my responsibility, it's their responsibility. They have to lower their gaze. They have to. That is incorrect, my dear brothers and sisters. That argument is flawed, because even in the modern Western society that we're all living in, there is a level of modesty that is expected, and you would be, as individuals, by law, you would be prosecuted if you do not observe that level of modesty. It's just different to the Islamic level of modesty. Not only that, the Western society and any society, any decent civilization recognizes the impact of an individual on the society and the reaction that an individual can cause through their actions. And therefore, they look at certain actions and they may ban them. For instance, I know in some cities they ban the carrying of certain drugs or alcohol or certain things in public. I know when I lived in Sydney, it was illegal to carry a bottle of alcohol in public. Why? Because they say that promotes it. Okay? It promotes drinking. Although drinking was not prohibited, but they do not want to make it so open and for every age and so on. They want to make it limited because they recognize the damage that it causes, and therefore they ban certain levels. Well, Islam goes to the higher levels and protects it altogether. For example, in the question of drinking, it says altogether it's haram. Because one may say, well, you drink a little bit, it's okay, but then you have people getting addicted to it and how it causes domestic violence and all the problems. Islam cuts it from the beginning, it's haram. Okay? Comes to modesty, even those societies, they have recognized certain levels of modesty as being mandatory because they recognize the damage that it causes. In certain central business districts, CBDs, okay, they expect that the woman during working hours to be dressed in a certain modest dress code. And if you are not adhering to it, you'll have police prosecuting you. I know in certain, now the levels are different. I know that they might say, well, they cannot be showing, for instance, part of their belly, or they cannot be topless, or they cannot be, certain levels. The levels may differ, but they recognize the damage that immodesty causes, and so they expect one level of modesty. Islam gives us the highest level of modesty that protects the society to the best level. Protects the society from what? This is where I want us to really think, and I want to try and keep it brief. I don't want to keep you much longer, but I want to get to the point. Protects the society from what? Some may say, well, it's only about, getting assault, rape and so on. That is one extreme, but that is not what we're discussing. ذَلِكَ أَدْنَىٰ أَن يُعْرَفْنَ فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ is not referring to this only. That's one aspect of it. That it's best for them to cover themselves and to bring their scarves in a way that covers their shape of their upper body and so on, which unfortunately nowadays not many Muslims are adhering to it. They don't even recognize it as being part of the hijab. They think hijab is only putting something over the hair and the rest of the body is okay, or as long as you cover the skin. That is not the real. What is the purpose of it? The purpose of it is to protect the society from their own, men and women having diseases and problems that then become contagious. We live now in a society where men see their women and they see women outside, and then they compare, and then the women end up having psychological problems. Now in France, believe it or not, a Western country, in fact, they are a country who ban hijab. Many of you in certain areas and so on, they ban it. Okay, you cannot go to public schools, universities, and so on with hijab. In that same country, they have come up with a new, basically a new technique or new way of promoting modesty. So they say even companies that come to use, they're trying to do advertising and create advertising campaigns. They are not allowed to use women as a tool for advertising, and they're not allowed, if they use a woman in a picture or something, they cannot pick from the models, the catwalk models and so on. They have to pick average women. Why? Because they realized the damage that all these magazines and all these advertising campaigns bringing this model of a woman, the damage that it has created in the society, they have now recognized it. And as a result, now they say, well, we cannot use that because it's so damaging and it has such a negative effect on the society. So many women feel inferior because of their inability due to their pregnancy, birth, then all sort of things that makes it impossible for them to maintain that ideal figure, or they might not have the genes to even have that figure that they create for the models and so on. So they feel inferior. It's creating psychological effects and all of these problems. Yet as Muslims, we have the best text and we have the best examples, and we need to wait for them to realize what's best for us and what is harmful for the society to implement certain levels of modesty. Let us be the wise. Al-mu'minu kayyisun fatin. The hadith says mu'min has to be sharp and has to be smart, and not in some say the same one. If you do not put the signs properly, you could read it as kis qutun. Those who are the Arabs would understand. Instead of saying kayyisun fatin, they might read it as kis qutun. Kis means what? A bag, and qutun is a qaran. Okay, in other words, like an empty bag, almost useless. Okay, doesn't even have weight. Okay. Al-mu'min should have intelligence, should be wise, should realize, a mu'min or a mu'mina should realize that what is best for them in the modern society or the old day society until the day of judgment. These things are standards that do not change. The best thing for our women is to be modest. The best thing for the men is to lower their gaze, regardless of the circumstances. And the best thing is to avoid certain areas or places that all of these, and that is, all of the immodesty is exposed and displayed everywhere. In those areas, it's best for Muslims not to be there, in fact, to the best of their ability. Okay? So you'll find that if you ask the Maraja, they'll tell you, for instance, certain beaches or pools that are mixed and it is not possible to avoid seeing, it is haram to actually be there. In fact, it is makruh to go to what we call the marketplace, shopping centers. Why do you think it's makruh? For two levels of modesty. Inshallah, we'll discuss the other level later, but one level is about this very fact, the exposure to those who are out there exposing themselves, those who are out there causing trouble in the society. And what they are doing ends up, see, this is the difference between the one who has modesty from within her or within him, that he lowers his gaze and she protects herself and she covers. She does not want to be a tool that is misused by the society. She realizes that if I expose my beauty, I can be used by the men in the wrong way, and I could cause harm to husbands and wives and families and the society. Therefore, I cover. From within herself, she has that modesty. But some do not have that, and some go out with the intention of exposing or showing their beauty in order to gain the attention, which is not the right attention. And in fact, these women are causing damage in this society. They will be punished in this world before the hereafter, believe it or not. We need to make sure we adhere to these rules, and we learn when we discuss the lady Fatimiyyah Zahra salamullah alayha, we learn from her. Lady Zainab salamullah alayha, we learn from her. I want to finish, and I'll get to the musibah through the will of Fatimiyyah Zahra salamullah alayha. According to the narrations, when she was telling her husband, after the oppression that they caused, the harm that they caused her and the oppression that they brought on her and her family, after she fell ill, and eventually through that illness she was martyred and departed this world, when she was giving her wasiyah to Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wasalamu alayhi, she said to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I want you to make me a coffin. Before that, they used to put men and women on a basically piece of wood, a plank, and just cover it with fabric. So she says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I want you to make me a coffin. And she describes it. She says, I saw the malaika and they taught me. She describes it. She says to him, I want it. And according to narrations, she was the first who had asked. She says, why? Although she wanted to be buried in secret because she did not want the oppressors to participate in her funeral, but the few that would be there, the very few that would be there amongst the sincere companions, the best companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, she did not want them to see the figure of her body even after her demise, after her martyrdom. She did not want them to look at the nash, we call it, the body, and recognize the shape of the body. And therefore she asked for him to make the kafan in the way that is made nowadays, that the coffin or the tabut, the nash, in the way that is made so that her figure of her body is not shown. This is the modesty of Lady Fatima salamullah alayha. But I ask, why did she ask to be buried in secret? The question that is asked, فَبِأَيِّ شَيْءٍ? What is the reason that the daughter of Rasulullah, the only daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, is buried in secret at night? Why is it that as the ummah of Rasulullah, up until today, and until perhaps the day that the Imam comes and returns to this world, we do not know where the grave of the daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam is. Sallallahu alayka ya Rasulallah, sallallahu alayka wa ala bid'atika Fatimatu Zahra السريعة اللحاق بك. During the end of the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, he whispered to the ears of his daughter and she started crying. Then he told her something and she smiled after that. They asked her after the demise of Rasulullah, O daughter of Rasulullah, what was it that the Prophet whispered to you? She said, the first time he told me that he would be departing this world soon. that brought me to tears. Then he told me that I would be joining him very soon. That is what brought a smile to my face. O Rasulullah, though it was so short her time in this world after you, but it was full of incidents, full of oppression. So much they did to the daughter of Rasulullah that the young daughter of Rasulullah, in that young prime of her time, the mother of the young children, could not last long in this world after her father. They could not even bear the weeping and the crying of Fatima. They came to Amir al-Mu'mineen and said to him, Ya Ali, tell your wife either she cries during the day or at night. We cannot bear it, her crying all the time. Amir al-Mu'mineen describes his loss of Fatima. He says, it is upon everyone such a difficult thing. He says that the most difficult thing upon people is that they lose a loved one in this world. Yet it is the tradition of this world, لكل اجتماع من خليلين فرقة وكل الذي دون الفراق قليل. وإن افتقادي فاطمة بعد أحمد دليل على ألا يدوم خليل. He says, after we had lost Rasulullah, our beloved Rasulullah, now I have lost my wife Fatima. One day during the end of her life, as she tells him how she wanted to be buried and how she wanted her body to be carried, she says to him, Ya Ali, oh my husband, oh Ali, I will be departing very soon. Amir al-Mu'mineen is in tears. The news is heavy upon his heart. Yet soon after that she started crying. He said to her, O daughter of Rasulullah, O my beloved Fatima, I am the one who is losing you, and you will be joining your father very soon. What is it that makes you cry? What is it that puts you to tears? She says to him, أبكي لغربتك بعدي. I cry for your loneliness after me, Ya Ali. After me you After me, you will not have anyone to talk to. After Fatima, Amir al-Mu'mineen was talking to the wells in Medina. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم إلهي بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها وبالسر المستودع فيها استجب دعواتنا يا الله. Oh Allah, answer the prayers of mu'mineen and mu'minat, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, give the quick recovery to all the mu'mineen and mu'minat in difficulty. Oh Allah, give the quick recovery and the relief to all the mu'mineen and mu'minat under the oppressive tyrants of this world, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, send your mercy to the souls of all marhumin from mu'mineen and mu'minat, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of our Imam. Make us amongst the sincere lovers and companions and followers of our Imam, Ya Allah. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات الشهداء والصالحين أرواح موتى الحاضرين. رحم الله من قرأ السورة المباركة الفاتحة تحفظها صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إلهي بحق محمد وأنت المحمود وبحق علي وأنت العالي وبحق فاطمة وأنت فاطر السماوات والأرض
أنت قديم الإحسان، إلهي بأخص صفاتك وبعز جلالك وبأعظم أسمائك وبعصمة أنبيائك وبنور أوليائك وبدم شهدائك وبمناجاة فقرائك وبالدعاء صلحائك أسألك زيادة في العلم وصحة في الجسم وبركة في الرزق وطولا في العمر